you to both the Oakland and the New York Police Department because when you strike down one, 10 more prop up in their place. We're not going anywhere. Get used to this. We are demanding an open dialogue with the public, and we have received that. And that's all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Russell Simmons.
Get down, please! Get down!
Sorry I'm late. I have an echo. It sounds so poetic at County Park when we speak, and then people echo, but I have a mic instead.
You can mic check it though.
Mic check.
Mic check!
Listen, I'm a senior member of Congress who worked on this constitutional amendment, and who is gaining a lot of ground in Congress, but he wants to have a very strong bipartisan support for this legislation. And it's very simple because I mean 90%, 9 out of 10 Americans think that there's too much control over our government by corporations and special interests. Do we agree? Yeah! Would you like this anymore? And that's a fact. And 9 out of 10 Americans believe that. And until now, if not for your courage, and if not for your endurance, then we probably wouldn't have this dialogue. But this dialogue is going to end well. Despite what happened yesterday in New York, which made me uncomfortable, made me want to bring this amendment to you now. You know, they're fighting so hard. The Occupy movement is under attack. And while we're under attack, the education process is still continues, but I want to start, I think that if we put framework to our work, and this is again only inspired by, this is not a statement from leadership or anything, it's inspired by the work that you do. This simple constitutional amendment that makes all the difference in the world. For instance, if we talk, and I think we all know this, if we talk about the prison industrial complex, and I had a big bout with them over the Rockefeller drug laws in New York, and we changed that law. But the biggest impediment between changing that law and we had people incarcerated for 20 years for little bits of drugs. The biggest impediment was the lobbyists. And we talk about jobs overseas, and I can't make a competitive business without going overseas, then the biggest impediment to bringing the jobs back home are the lobbyists. And we talk about health care, you can say small government, but the real big problem with us getting health care is the lobbyists. And I don't like the idea that you can go to war with someone, and always lobbying is fine, discussion is fine. I don't want a person to tell my president and my congressional members that to go to war and give them all the good reasons to go to war and then go home and send a check. I just don't want the legal bribery, and I think all of us know that that is the core of our problem. Or certainly if it's not the core of our problem, it is a core of our solution. And so I have this constitutional amendment, it's very short, I want to read it. I had copies that I'd hand out to the press, but it's just been amended again. And it's because of where we are in this movement that if we want the 9 out of 10 Americans to understand, we're trying to educate them on what it is that separates us from opportunity. And so this constitutional amendment, I'll read it, and it's open for dialogue, but it's pretty crystal clear and simple. All elections for presidents and members of the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate shall be publicly financed. No political contributions shall be permitted to any federal candidate from any other source, including the candidate. No political expenditures shall be permitted in support of any federal candidate or in opposition to any federal candidate from any other source, including the candidate. Nothing in this section shall be construed to abridge the freedom of the press. The Congress shall, by statute, provide limitations on the amounts and timing of the expenditures of such public funds and provide criminal penalties for any violation of this section. The Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Finally, the article shall be inoperative unless it is ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by conventions in several states as provided by the Constitution. Very simple. The idea is to give the power back to the people and take it away from the corporations. This is a concrete demand, and even our education process, if we never say it as a group, this is what Congress is going to go through, and we're going to watch our legislators like hawks, and we're going to change this country and give the power back to the people. Thank you for having me.
Russell, we'll take a few questions from the audience, and if you'd like to raise your hands on. Yes, sir.
Mr. Simmons, given the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United, wouldn't they almost immediately find this amendment unconstitutional if it passed?
Well, the idea is it's a constitutional amendment, and it's the kind of thing that would, just like the idea that they think that corporations are people. Corporations have quarterly profits. They have no compassion, and I don't even think the discussion of ending corporate greed is kind of a difficult one. That's the discussion of spirituality and consciousness. Corporations are greedy by nature. Their job is to return profits to the people. That's fine. Our job is to legislate against them.
What made you want to come to Occupy Boston today versus, let's say, being in New York?
Well, Boston's a good place, right? In the country. The Tea Party, I would think the Tea Party members would like this amendment. I would think that all Americans who want a real, true democracy will like this constitutional amendment. This is not a partisan issue. This is an American issue. And Boston's a great place for a lot of reasons.
What did you think when you saw what happened in New York? What do you think about that?
Come to Boston.
What do you think about Bloomberg's decision?
Did you author this amendment, and do you plan to bring it to
No,
the
one of the most senior members in Congress authored it, but he sits on one side of the aisle just because they all have to sit on the side of the aisle.
And did you plan to bring this to the GAs of Occupy?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
So I plan to bring it to the GIs of Occupy, but the idea, this is such an American idea. We only have 70% of America that understands why we're doing this. We have 90% of America who knows that we need to change this situation where the government's against it by corporations. On a t-shirt, you couldn't buy the back of Beyonce's earring, a backing with a t-shirt. I thought it was a good idea that he made it, and I was happy for it, and it was fine by me. I didn't realize it was for sale, and I don't think they make 20 t-shirts per quarter. I used to own a company like that. And he doesn't own that company, but they make 20 a quarter. Lots of graphics. Some young designer made it. He thought it was cool. He wore it. Doesn't even own the company anymore. But I don't think that's they like to separate voices from movements. It's not my job to say. Again, we can't limit corporate greed. We can legislate it. So I didn't know what his plans, any of that is. That was not my concern. Could buy a couple sleeping bags with it, but it'd be nice. But if not, it's not. The real truth is that a lot of people can't afford a T-shirt. That's why we're here. I think we just got started. These young, ambitious, creative, inspired people, politically astute people, are the seeds of a revolution. This country is supposed to be a democracy, and I know that they're going to help to make a better democracy. And this constitutional amendment is at the core of some of our problems, but I think the idea that people get control of this government and inequalities go away or are worked on with really high intentions is why they're here, and we're just getting started.
My bad to put you on the spot, Russell, but don't you think it's a bit of a conflict of interest when you run and own businesses that benefit off the tax code that doesn't?
I benefit off the tax code, but I'm ready to pay more taxes. I don't listen. I hear the conservatives and other people, never mind conservatives, people say, well, you don't pay that much tax. I don't like getting a $100 million check, giving away $10 million in bonuses, and having my secretary pay more taxes than me. I don't like it. I don't think that's American. I don't think it's right. I think that the reason we have these holes in tax and these tax opportunities and corporate welfare because corporations tell their politicians, go to work and fix it for me. And that has to stop. I'd rather give my money to charity than to the war machine on my personal level. Yeah.
How would you address the civic tax problem?
That's part of that's in there. If you read it, it's in there. That's why it doesn't say contribution. It says expenditures. That's the difference. That's why I would have handed you all one, but that one thing was in there. The super PAC thing is obviously a major problem, and that's addressed. Well, my secretary's been here a long time, and she's going to be fine. I'm going to buy her a farm. She's an animal rights activist. I don't mean a farm to make stuff for you to eat. I mean a farm for animals who've been abused. That she wants to tend to. That's right. She wants something like farm sanctuary. Thank you. She's not going to have a farm and make food. We don't eat. Any other questions?
We get rid of NAFTA?
I'm not that political. I don't know.
When and how might this amendment move forward?
It's starting now. It's going to be passed around beginning now. But we would like to have somebody strong on the right side, on the other side, whatever side that is, to join in this senior member of Congress, so that we'll have a bipartisan bill when we introduce it properly.
Do you have a message to the occupiers who were evicted last night?
Damn, I would have been there. I mean, I wouldn't have been there last night. I would have been there in the morning, after I slept at 1. I love them. You know, I like that, you young people and everybody who comes out, they're the real heroes of this movement. And I just think that, their courage is inspiring. And right now, they're trying to figure out, they can go back in the park. We won that, but we don't have any tents. So it's cold. So they're occupying still. They're going to still occupy, and they're going to find new homes, and we're going to find new ways for the revolution to continue to grow. And, the police can't, in America, I think that's world news, right? They've done a lot to make this revolution grow. They've created more dialogue, and I don't know how many times economic inequality was discussed before you guys went to work. Well, I don't know how many times even a constitutional amendment was brought up. Maybe many times, but not so frequently as it is brought up today. So your work is special, and it's making America better.
Will you be able to march with us today?
Yes, where we going?
5 o'clock.
Huh?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. I'm having a speech today. Maybe I can hang out for a bit. Maybe I'll go to the football.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different role. And that sounds really small, but it's true, But I can watch, I guess. Yeah.
Came down from Occupy in Maine, and an individual came in and built something called the random, where you take these plastic random, you put it in half moon shapes, pack them together, dome to dome. That's like this, show me it's cheap per square footage. We need a little funding from the fire marshal.
How much money?
Not much, but can I work with you? And I'll make a little, I can stay out and get clothes down, jackets on, not even put it in house, the rest of it here, everywhere, we're able to stay on the ground.
Dude, I've been happy to give towards the dome. Don't you ask me.
I will
Okay. Answer is yes.
Would you speak a little bit to what you're doing to support Occupy without
Little stuff. I mean,
your mouthpiece?
a mouthpiece. I try to give money a few times. I've given some money. I go out and I visit, but money, mouthpiece. Trying to get, bring in Kanye there. They said all kinds. They say mean things about all the voices who would help to amplify our voice. They say mean things about the people who have resources that could make a big difference to us because their monetary gifts and their support systems and their media company. They have a little media company. Global Grind has 3 million people, and when you write something, it spreads. So if you look at the cover, there's a cover and a real a different side of the way that we have the Daily News and the New York Post. We have the New York Post. So you need me. So I do that every day. I I write blogs like Occupy the New York Post. You know, I write blogs like Open Letter to the Mayor. Mayor Bloomberg never took a dime from anybody. I mean, of course, he could fund his own campaign, but why he didn't want to be in debt? So he should know better than anybody the dangers that happen to live by the funding of people who want you to do things that maybe not a natural instinct. And that's what the problem with this country is. And Mayor Bloomberg should know better than anybody. Okay, I'll take two more. Yeah.
So you spoke to the spiritual crisis and the need for spiritual warriors. Do you have any suggestions in terms of how we build ourselves spiritually, even if it's like from your personal practice?
My personal belief is, well, as a practicing yogi who practices every day and who lives by yogic scripture as much as I can, right? We all fall off. I do different things. I'm on the board of the David Lynch Foundation. We've given 20,000 kids in America meditation. We found that meditation expands the brain, makes the brain more expansive. It gets rid of the ADD. It gets rid of the anger. It changes people so they have an expansive brain that can learn. And the research is phenomenal. You go to tm.org. So I do that and I promote that to kids. My kids meditate twice a day. I think that we got to pray that, and by example, we can inspire people to do things that will go back to what their scriptures promoted. The scriptures don't only have observances; they have spiritual practices. The observances are supposed to inspire the spiritual practices, and we're supposed to. The idea of lifting consciousness is, from every prophet, over and over again in different languages and different colors. It's the same rap. We know what the rap is, but can we, as individuals, remember these ideas? So. That's just, that's for individuals to work on and to spread love as much as we can. Yeah. I heard Angela Davis speak. She said all these beautiful things. It was really inspiring about, and I'm a gay rights activist. I'm an animal rights activist. I'm a human rights activist. I try to share and know that the rights that I take for granted for myself are no good unless I get those same rights for others. I try to live by these mantras. But, at the end of the day, you got to vote. At the end of the day, you have to, do some practices that are part of, I call that the other world, but they say it's the real world. You got to live in it, and we have to have legislation to stop the control of our government by corporations. Krishna told Arjuna, "You're a yogi, right? Excuse me, you're a yogi."
Spiritual warrior.
Spiritual warrior. Yeah. A group hug? Yeah, I'll give a group hug. Okay, that's it.
Not being heavy.
Let's show it out. Let's show it out.
Steve, get out of there!
Who's got Red Sox hat?
Red Sox hat!
Fresh ass show.
Already for the Yankees anyway.
No.
So happy. We got tested out in New York together at 3 in the morning. So I'll be with my Yankees.
Yeah, you're wearing a Yankee hat. Thank you, Russell.
We love you, Russ.
Yo, that was awesome. Thank you.
Bitches in the Red Sox. I'm gonna fall down this fucking hill with my backpack.
In the Red Sox.
People keep knocking me.
It was a compliment.
Mr. Simmons, oh yeah. No, you know, everyone's all up in
You also come back for GA.
When's the sponsor of this amendment going to be?
When you find someone on the other side of it, and we will, because I don't think
How many of y'all live here?
with the idea that corporations want them, that they elected officials, even if they said leave them on the side of the road, they want the elected officials to say that. They don't want to say it because some pharmaceutical plant tells them. He wants to say he's illegal, right? Or he wants to say something else. You want people when you elect to work for you, no matter what your political belief. So this person, I think, would be better with a counterpart on the other side than it's really on the other side, which would be very easy to get. Such a left-wing thing that happened to create more of a nice one.
Mr. Simmons, this is from one of our rappers here.
I'm not okay, I think that's it, right?
I got a quick question for you. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Go and thank everybody for coming.
Thank you, Russell. Okay. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Well, they're not going to. My message is to keep them not that. That we have to educate Americans that can watch this thing develop. It won't develop without exactly. Not easy, right? That money grab is not going to change because we all buy it and happen because the state, the state power. Everybody didn't realize.
Jeez, good thing he's not claustrophobic.
Not. You want to watch?
You guys got enough pictures or what? Come on.
3 inches close and you'll be standing on his nuts.
That's the press, if you're going to make copies of this, that's it. Yeah, I want. That's what they don't get it.
Yep. Yeah, so you have a copy of
You go ahead. Good to see you. I know it sounds silly. Can I get a picture with him? I want to get a picture with me and Mike.
Where are you speaking later?
I'm not even sure.
That's kind of cool.
These children. Oh, you're from